What's up, Green Bay Packers fans? Welcome back, and as always, thank you for joining me. My name's Paul Brettel, and today we're here to discuss the Green Bay Packers and Jonathan Taylor. We're going to do our best to unpack this situation given all the recent news that's come out over the last few days. But before we dive in, as always, hit like on the video, hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. I do greatly appreciate it. You can find all my work over at Packers Wire and follow me on Twitter at Paul_Brettel. So let's start with what we know, just a high-level overview of what we know about Jonathan Taylor, the Colts, and the reports that have come out so far. So Jonathan Taylor, he's entering the final year of his rookie deal, year number 4. And in short, of course, he's looking for an extension, a big payday at that, given his career up to this point. And the Colts, I'm guessing largely because of the running back market at the moment, just are not willing to pay that. They allowed Jonathan Taylor to seek a trade. There were some rumblings about him potentially going to Miami, but the Colts had a self-imposed deadline for this past Tuesday when roster cutdowns had to be finalized. And if they didn't have a deal at that time, they were going to, it's from the sounds of it anyways, stop negotiations for the time being at least. No deal was reached. Tuesday passed. The Colts placed Jonathan Taylor on the physically unable to perform list, which means that he does have to miss the first 4 games of the season. And after that, a report from Stephen Holder of ESPN, who had previously covered the Colts, said that the Packers, and these are his words, had legitimate interest in trading for Jonathan Taylor. Now, just because a deal has not been reached does not mean that one won't be at some point, whether with the Packers, Dolphins, or whoever else may emerge. The NFL's trade deadline is not until October 31st. Colts GM Chris Ballard has said that he does believe that the relationship between the Colts and Taylor is repairable, but there's still a few months for things to transpire and for a deal to potentially work out. So because nothing has happened yet doesn't mean that something won't. So again, the initial report was that the Packers had legitimate interest in trading for Taylor. Ryan Wood later that day from the Green Bay Press-Gazette, who covers the Green Bay Packers, would say from a source of his that conversations between the Packers and Colts never got past the scout level. And typically that's how things are going to work. It's not initially going to start with Brian Gutekunst picking up the phone. Packers, as Brian Gutekunst has said, they want to be in every conversation, so they probably picked up the phone just to send out some feelers about, hey, who's or what's the asking price for Jonathan Taylor? Again, just to get an idea of it. So it's been difficult to discern what level of contact and what level these negotiations have gotten into. I do believe that they absolutely happened. I mean, when Brian Gutekunst was speaking to the media on Wednesday, he was asked about Jonathan Taylor, and he never said that didn't happen. If we look back, I think it was a few weeks ago now, he was asked about, potentially, the rumors around trading David Bakhtiari. Right away, he said, no, that is not the case. That is not going to happen, and those conversations are not taking place. That did not happen when he was asked about Jonathan Taylor. Instead, he said that, these conversations around the league about their players, other players, take place pretty regularly. So while he didn't come out and say that, yes, they talked to the Colts, he also didn't say that they never talked to the Colts either. So I feel confident in saying that some level of conversations have taken place. But again, how deep? That's the part that we're trying to work our way through right now. According to Stephen Holder, again, who covers the Colts, in his report, there was legitimate interest. Ryan Wood, on the other hand, said that these never got past the scout level in terms of conversations being had. It very well could be, as these reports come out, always look at what side benefits from it. It definitely seems right now like the Colts and Jonathan Taylor are jockeying for position within the media in terms of trying to gain, potentially the upper hand in these negotiations or in these conversations that between the two parties are taking place. Then the following day, I believe it was, Josina Anderson reported that the Packers were willing to make Jonathan Taylor one of the highest paid running backs in football had a trade been agreed to. Now, again, I think that's a given. Like, if the Packers are going to make a trade to acquire Jonathan Taylor, this is a long-term move. And in it being a long-term move, they're going to have to pay him. So I don't think that's all that surprising, that report. Again, if these conversations were happening. But I have to ask myself, did the conversations get to the level of they're discussing with Taylor, not specifics at this point, but that, hey, we'd be willing to get it you into, this contract value on an average annual basis. Did they get to that point? Again, that's the cloudiness of this whole situation about what has actually happened and how deep these conversations have truly gotten. So again, to put a bow on everything just discussed, some murkiness around it, but I do absolutely believe that the Packers reached out in some capacity, whether it was Gutekunst or someone else in the personnel department, to at least see what the Colts were willing to trade Jonathan Taylor for. So now let's start with, or move on to, I should say, why the Packers would want to trade for Jonathan Taylor. In a vacuum, if we're just looking at from a pure on-the-field football perspective, of course, who wouldn't want to have Jonathan Taylor? He's been one of the most productive running backs in all of football. Coming off an all-pro season in 2021 where he led the NFL in rushing with over 1,800 yards. Led the NFL in touchdowns that year with 18. And he's also been very, very effective in the passing game as well. Has over 100 career targets. And as we know in the Matt LaFleur offense, running backs be able to impact the game in that capacity is also an important aspect of playing the running back position in this offense. So in that capacity, of course, I'm sure every team would want to have Jonathan Taylor on their team. Again, if we're just looking at it through the vacuum, the lens of just what takes place on the football field. There's also the importance that the run game has in this Packers offense. A sound run-pass mix is a key element of the LaFleur offense. Success on the ground, makes play action more easily to execute. And play action's a big aspect of the Matt LaFleur offense as well. It opens up the playbook for Matt LaFleur. You can keep defenses guessing, keep them off balance when you have a good run-pass mix, when you have a strong run game to complement your passing game. And then that takes some of the playmaking burden off of Jordan Love. So there's really just a positive trickle-down effect to the rest of the offense that a strong run game has. And as I've talked about on here before, if the Packers are going to be successful on offense in 2023, it starts with the run game. It's an absolute must. If they're not able to get consistent yards on early downs and they're facing 2nd and 8s, 3rd and 7s, and Jordan Love, first-time starting quarterback, this young group of skill position players are being put in obvious passing situations, that's likely not going to be a recipe for success for this unit. So success on the ground is an absolute must. Now, again, the Packers have a good, or what should be a really good running back duo already in Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Have the potential to be one of the best duos in football. So it's not as if the Packers are entering the 2023 season, with uncertainty in the running back room for this 1 year. Again, all the reasons that I just mentioned and why the run game is important to this offense and why success is a must, they absolutely have the ability right now with the construction of this running back room to go out there and accomplish those things. But this is a move, or would be a move, that's for the future. This is for 2024 and beyond. For one, Jonathan Taylor's only 24 years old. He's entering his second, or is about to be entering, next year, his second NFL contract. If we look at Aaron Jones, he's going to be 29 at the end of this regular season. And from a contract standpoint, Aaron Jones, his cap hit in 2024 is over $17 million. This very well could be Aaron Jones' final season with the Green Bay Packers. A.J. Dillon came out in the same year of the draft as Jonathan Taylor, drafted in the second round as well. And he's about to hit free agency in 2024. We do not know what his future holds. Very, very possible that this running back room looks drastically different next season, regardless of how the Packers go about, filling the potential voids that Dillon and Aaron Jones could leave behind. So again, this is a move for the future. You're getting a younger running back. You'd be getting him on a new contract and someone that based on prior production, that you can lean on heavily and build the run game around. So that's what this move would truly be for. The fact that they could have Aaron Jones and Jonathan Taylor together for one season, I mean, that's just the cherry on top of what this move, again, from a football perspective, would do. Financially this season, Jonathan Taylor has a base salary of $4.3 million. The Packers, they'd be able to fit that on their books this year. To help accomplish that, it would either take trading Yosh Nijman, which I'm not sure that they'd be willing to do. Unless he would be a part of these trade conversations. But an extension for Rashawn Gary is another way that's going to free up some cap space as well. I believe that would free up anywhere from $3 to $4 million in cap space for this season here, coupled with the available space that they have. And that's a move that's going to happen. It's just a matter of when, not if. So the Packers have the ability to fit Jonathan Taylor's contract in his rookie season on the 2023 books. And if the two parties agree to an extension fairly early on, that would probably lower Taylor's cap hit for this year as well and push those dollars into future years. Now, in terms of his salary cap impact in those future years, like I said initially, the Josina Anderson report, the Packers were willing to make Taylor one of the highest paid running backs in football. So for reference right now, Christian McCaffrey, he's earning, and these aren't their cap hits, but Christian McCaffrey's earning on average $16 million per year, highest paid running back in football. Alvin Kamara, second highest paid running back in football, is earning $15 million per year, and Derrick Henry, the third highest paid running back in football, is earning $12.5 million per year. So that gives you some idea, some perspective on where Taylor's, from an average annual value standpoint, could land. And as we look at the construction of this Packers roster, their salary cap situation in 2024 isn't ideal, but it's far more improved from where it is right now. Aaron Rodgers' contract is going to be off the books. They're going to have a lot more salary cap flexibility. And as we know, with how the Packers structure their contracts that they hand out, the salary cap hit for players in that first year is usually very, very small. Packers give them a large signing bonus up front, and you're able to spread that chunk of money out over the life of the contract, rather than it hitting the books all in that first season. So even though things are going to improve again from a salary cap perspective in 2024, they're still going to be a little bit restricted. Again, just still playing catch up from all those void years and dollars they pushed ahead during the 2020, 2021, 2022 off seasons. But again, with the lower cap hit for Taylor, they could likely make it work. And then as we get into 2025, 2026 on Taylor's potential contract extension, with the Packers, this is a really, really young roster. We all know that. Their average age right now on the team is 24.9 years old, youngest in football. By having a young roster, it means you have inexpensive rookie contracts. So the Packers are likely in a position to be able to, go heavy, in this case at the running back position from a money standpoint, from a cap standpoint, because, look at their receiver room, for example. They are not going to have any large cap hits there for a few seasons, outside of making a free agent addition within that group. So the construction of the roster, where this team's at, I think financially they would have the ability, again, to make it work, not only in 2023, but also in the upcoming years in terms of giving Jonathan Taylor an extension, and one that, again, would make him one of the more higher paid running backs in the game. Now, having said all that, just because you can do something, does that mean you should? And really, that's the crux of this whole question that we're asking ourselves. Is that the best use of resources for the Green Bay Packers right now, to be spending it on the running back position? Of course, we just went through why they would. From a football standpoint, it does make a ton of sense. And at the end of the day, that's what they're here to do. They're here to win football games and to maximize the Matt LaFleur offense and what it can do. Having that really strong run game to lean on is really important. I feel like a lot of times we can look towards San Francisco to a degree in terms of what are they doing to give us some insight into what might happen in Green Bay. One of those aspects are attacking the middle of the field. That's a core staple of the Kyle Shanahan offense. Jimmy Garoppolo, even Brock Purdy last season during his playing time, were among the leaders in throwing to the middle of the field. As we know, Matt LaFleur offense comes from that Kyle Shanahan coaching tree. Their roots are intertwined. There's a lot of overlap. We can probably expect to see Jordan Love, and we've already seen in training camp in the preseason, attacking the middle of the field a lot more this season than what Aaron Rodgers did. Another example is last season, the 49ers went out and got Christian McCaffrey. And he played a key role alongside of Brock Purdy, a young quarterback, in helping that offense get to the NFC Championship game last season. So again, could the Packers look to do something similar and go out and get a Jonathan Taylor to pair with Jordan Love, for the next 2, 3, 4 years as he gets up and going in his career? And again, we've already gone through the benefits of having a strong run game can have. But is that the best use of resources? In order to acquire Jonathan Taylor, first off, it sounds like the Colts are having have a ridiculous asking price right now. Supposedly, or reportedly, I should say, when talking with Miami, they wanted either Jaden Waddle or Christian Wilkerson included in that trade package, along with, I believe it was, a day 2 draft pick. Like, if that's where these conversations are at right now, then this trade's never going to happen. There's no chance the Green Bay Packers should be willing to part with, for example, a third-round pick in Romeo Doubs to acquire Jonathan Taylor. The Colts are 100% going to have to bring down their asking price if these reports are true. But regardless, the Packers are going to have to give up a premium pick, probably a day 2 one. They may have to part with a player who could, or in all likelihood, is currently providing value to this team. And not to say that Jonathan Taylor wouldn't provide value. Of course he would. But it goes back to should the Packers be willing to give up a premium pick or a key contributor on offense or defense for the running back position? That's the question in all of this. As we've seen over the last few years, running back production can be very much replaceable in the NFL draft. And it doesn't even take spending a first, second, or third round pick on the position. You can spend a day 3 pick, have someone come in and make an immediate impact within the offense. Go back and look at the most recent Super Bowl winners over the last 3, 4, 5 years. They all have, who their leading running back was in the Super Bowl in terms of attempts or throughout the regular season. Their cap hits are very, very minimal. As we look at the running back market and team construction right now, it's been shown that you don't have to have a top dollar running back in order to be a Super Bowl contender or a Super Bowl winner. Does it help? Does it help having Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey on your team? Of course it helps. But in terms of an allocation of resources, could that draft pick that Green Bay's trading away, could that cap space that Green Bay's using on Jonathan Taylor be better utilized on a different position, such as safety? That position's going to need an overhaul in 2024. On the offensive line, for example, there's some potential turnover at tackle, and while the Packers have done, they have guys like Rasheed Walker, Caleb Jones, Luke Tenuta that they really like. Those are 3 undrafted guys that they might be relying on heavily next season. Should they put the draft capital? Should they put those cap dollars towards that position group that we know is a premium one and simply put provides more value than what the running back position does? That's the big question in all of this. And one that for the time being, I think we're just going to have to wait to see how things unfold. It does seem, again, with that self-imposed deadline that the Colts put on themselves, conversations for now have cooled off a little bit, but I have to imagine that to a degree there's still some rumblings and things taking place behind the scenes. The NFL trade deadline is not till October 31st. Just because rosters are set, the regular season starting, doesn't mean that, Colts are now just going to keep Jonathan Taylor on the roster through the rest of the season and see what happens. A trade is probably going to happen at some point. Again, the question is who is going to be the trade partner for the Colts? And as I mentioned already, the Colts, they have to lower their asking price if those reports are true. So there you have it. I hope that was helpful in terms of trying to figure out what's taking place, where are we right now, why would the Packers do this, why shouldn't they or why wouldn't they go about making this trade. As always, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit like on the video, hit subscribe on the YouTube channel. I greatly appreciate it. You can follow me on Twitter at Paul_Brettel, and you can find all my work over at Packers Wire. So until next time, friends, take care, stay safe, and as always, go Pack Go.